Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to speak in favor of the Sessions Bankruptcy Amendment. This is critical to the current financial debate because one of the big issues in this whole debate is whether or not we treat some companies, some banks differently than others. The current bankruptcy laws in this country create a predictable rule of law system. There's really no arbitrary or political decision making. When a company can't pay its bills, it can ask for bankruptcy protection to restructure or to liquidate in some kind of controlled fashion. This is what is meant by justice is blind. Our courts, our legal system, our political system does not get involved with deciding which companies have to be liquidated, have to go through bankruptcy. During our current financial meltdown, our government decided to pick winners and losers, to bail out some companies, some banks, and not others. This underlying financial regulation bill makes that system permanent, essentially throwing out the rule of law and allowing the political system, the bureaucratic system, to decide which companies need to be treated differently while others have to go through the bankruptcy process. The Sessions Amendment would treat all companies the same and allow an orderly restructuring or liquidation of banks, regardless of how big they are, to be treated the same way. The current package that we're voting on, the underlying bill, abandons the rule of law, it suspends free market principles, and it perpetuates this whole idea that there's some companies that are too big to fail, that have to be treated differently. And it even expands that arbitrary system by giving the FDIC the ability to pick companies that they think might fail and to actually seize them if they're not meeting certain standards or criteria. So the market doesn't decide which company is failing anymore. This becomes a political system which sets up corruption and political meddling as part of our financial system. There's no reason that we can't have special bankruptcy courts to deal with large banking institutions so that their failure does not take down our whole financial system. This idea that some people here in Washington are going to look up at Wall Street or anywhere in the country and decide, well, this company is too big to fail, has to be treated differently, while this company goes through a traditional bankruptcy process. That puts us right back where we are now, where people in the government can arbitrarily take taxpayer money, bail out one company. Maybe it's their political friends and supporters, or maybe they don't bail out the companies that are their political enemies. This makes no sense, to make these bold promises to the American people that we're going to end too big to fail when this bill actually makes it permanent. I encourage my colleagues to consider the Sessions Amendment because it would take us back to a rule of law system that's predictable, that lets every company, every bank know that if they can't pay their bills, that they have to go through a predetermined system, not one that's decided by bureaucrats at the last minute based on criteria that could change at any moment. Let's get this one right. The underlying bill will not do what we promised. The Session Amendment will move us in a right direction to keep our promises to the American people. Thank you, Madam President, and I yield back and note the absence of a quorum.